Hello Treasure, I have a story for you by Enid Blyton called Millicent Mary's Surprise. Once there was a little girl called Millicent Mary. She had a dear little garden of her own, and in the early spring the very first things to appear were the white snowdrops. Millicent Mary loved them. She liked the straight green stalks that came up, everyone holding a white bud, tightly wrapped at the top. She liked the two green leaves that sprang up each side. She loved to see the bud slowly unwrap itself and hang down like a little bell. But she was always so disappointed because the white bells didn't ring. They ought to, said Millicent Mary, and she shook each snowdrop to see if she could make it ring. Bells like this should ring, she said. Ring, little snowdrop, ring. But not one would ring. Still, Millicent Mary wouldn't give up. Every morning, when she put on her hat and coat and went out into her garden, she bent down and shook each of the snowdrops to see if perhaps today they would say, "Ting-a-ling-a-ling." But they never did. One day she went out into her garden when the snow was on the ground. The snowdrops were buried beneath the snow, and Millicent Mary had to scrape away the snow very gently to find out where her little flowers were. At last, all the little white bells were showing. She shook them, but no sound came. Well, you might have rung just a tiny tune to tell me you were grateful for me scraping the snow away, said Millicent Mary. She was just going to stand up and go into her shed to fetch the broom when she saw something rather strange. The snow on the flower bed nearby seemed to be moving itself, poking itself up out of the snow as if something were underneath it, and it was wriggling hard. Millicent Mary was surprised, so she stood and watched. She was even more surprised when she heard a tiny little voice crying, "Help, help me, oh help, oh help me." "Goodness gracious," said the little girl, "there's something buried under the snow just there. That's why it's moving. And it's got a tiny little voice that speaks." She began to scrape away the snow, and her soft, gentle fingers found something small and strange under the white blanket. She pulled it out. And guess what it was she pulled out? Yes, you've guessed it right. It was a tiny pixie with frozen silver wings and a little shivering body dressed in a cobweb frock. "Oh, thank you," said the pixie in a tiny voice, like a bird chirping. "I was so tired last night that I crept under a dead leaf and then I fell asleep. And when I woke this morning, I found a great thick cold white blanket all over me and I couldn't get it off. Just wait till I catch the person who threw this big blanket all over the garden." Millicent Mary laughed. "Oh, darling, it's snow," she said. "It isn't a real blanket, Treasure. You poor little thing. You feel so cold you are freezing my own fingers. I'm going to take you indoors and get you warm again." She tucked the pixie into her pocket and went inside. She didn't think she would show the fairy to anyone, because the fairy could just vanish, and Millicent Mary didn't want her fairy to vanish. It was fun having a pixie, not as big as a doll, to warm before the fire. The pixie sat on the fender and stretched out her frozen toes to the dancing flames. Millicent Mary took a piece of fine blue silk out of her mother's rag bag and gave it to the pixie. "Wrap this around you for a cloak," she said. "It will keep the frost off when you leave me." The pixie was so pleased. She wrapped the little bit of blue silk around her and pulled it close. I shall get my needle and thread and make this lovely piece of silk into a proper coat with sleeves and buttons and a collar, she said. You are a dear little girl. I love you. Yes, really I do. Is there anything you would like me to give to you? Now Millicent Mary thought hard. Then she shook her head. No, she said at last. There isn't anything at all, really. I've got all the toys I want. I did badly want a teddy bear, but I had one for Christmas. I don't want any sweets because I've still got a tin of barley sugar. I don't want chocolate biscuits because Mummy bought some yesterday. No, I really can't think of anything I need. The pixie looked a little disappointed. I do wish you would try to think of something, she said. Try hard. Can you think of something that Millicent Mary might like? Oh, Millicent Mary thought again. Oh. Then she smiled. Well, she said, there is something I'd simply love, but it needs magic to do it. I don't know if it will work, but the thing I'd really love, is for my little white snowdrops to ring on my birthday, which is on the 13th of February. Oh, treasure, that's easily managed, said the pixie. I'll work a spell for it. Let me see. What's your name? Millicent Mary, said the little girl. Millicent Mary, said the pixie, writing it down in a small notebook. Birthday, 13th February. Want snowdrops to ring on that day. All right, she said. I'll see to it. And now, goodbye, my dear. I'm deliciously warm with this little blue silk wrap. See you again soon. Don't forget to listen to your snowdrops on February the 13th. So the fairy skipped up into the air, spread her silvery wings, and flew straight out to the top of the window. Millicent Mary couldn't help but feel tremendously excited. Her birthday would soon be here, and just imagine the snowdrops ringing. Oh, won't she love to shake each tiny white bell and hear it ring? Ding-a-ling, ding-a-ling, ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling. Is your name Millicent Mary by any chance? Is your birthday on the 13th of February? If it is, the snowdrops will ring for you, without a doubt. So don't forget to shake each little white bell on that day and hear the tinkling sound they make. What a lovely surprise for all you Millicent Marys out there. I hope you enjoyed that, treasure. I'll see you soon.